Hi everyone, it's Erin Blue, Executive Director at the McConnell Arts Center here in the Winter Wonderland at the MAC. We are missing you terribly this year and wish you could be joining us for lots of wonderful performances inside. But hope you're staying safe and healthy, and we're excited to be bringing to you the Family Holiday Radio Hour with Worthington Community Theatre. Thanks everyone, have a great holiday season and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon.
Tonight's holiday special is brought to you by YearQuil. Had enough of 2020? Sleep through it. Our special formula lulls you to sleep until the virus is over. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa. This is Adam Latek here with my lovely co-host, Kat Stout.
You did forget Festivus.
Festivus.
Yes, Festivus for the rest of us.
That's right.
Oh, it has been a heck of a year. But we are looking forward to the holidays. Yes, good food, good company.
Socially distanced, of course.
Of course. Crackling fires, mistletoe, spinning the dreidel, and, of course, good old St. Nick coming down the chimney.
And the Family Holiday Radio Hour is chock full of our holiday favorites to get you in the holiday spirit. Well, there's even a rumor, Kat, that the big jolly man himself will be making an appearance tonight. What a show we have in store for you.
Yes, but the weather outside, it sure is frightful.
But my dear, you are delightful. And speaking of delightful, our first guests are the ever so talented duo of Rachel Hertenstein and Brent Fabian, here to sing us their special rendition of Baby It's Cold Outside.
Really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I've gotta go away.
Baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has been
hoping that you dropped
so
in.
very nice.
I'll hold your hands, they're just like
My
ice.
mother will start to worry.
Beautiful, what's your
And father
hurry?
will be pacing the floor.
Listen to that fireplace
So really
roar.
I'd better scurry.
Beautiful, please don't
Well, maybe
hurry.
just a half a drink
I'll
more.
put some records on as I
The
pull.
neighbors might think,
Baby, it's bad out there.
say what's in this drink.
No caps to be had out there.
I wish I knew how.
Your eyes are like starlight
to break
now.
the spell.
I'll take your hat, your hair looks swell.
I ought to say no,
Mind
sir.
if I move in
At least I'm
closer?
gonna say that I
What's
tried.
the sense of hurting my
I
pride?
really can't stay.
Baby, don't hold out.
Baby,
it's
it's
cold outside.
Well, you don't have to be so pushy. It's getting late.
Listen, as long as I have your consent.
I simply must go.
Baby, it's cold outside.
The answer is no.
But baby, it's cold outside.
Welcome has been
How lucky that you
so
dropped in.
nice and warm.
Look out the window at that
My
storm.
sister will be suspicious.
Gosh, your lips look delicious.
And brother will be there at the door.
Waves upon a tropical shore.
My maiden aunt's mind is
Gosh,
vicious.
your lips are
Well,
delicious.
maybe just a cigarette more.
Never such
I
a
don't smoke.
blizzard before.
Gotta get home.
Baby, you'll freeze out there.
Say, lend me a comb.
It's up to your knees out there.
You've really been grand.
I feel when I touch your
but
hand.
don't you see?
How can you do this thing to me?
Bound to be talk tomorrow.
Think of my long, long
At least
sorrow.
there will be plenty
If
implied.
you caught pneumonia
I
and
really
died.
can't stay.
Baby, it's cold. Baby, it's cold outside.
All right, one more game of Uno and then I'm out.
You're going down.
All right.
Brr, it is really cold outside. But with acts like this, we're sure to warm up.
Speaking of warming up, I've been meaning to ask you, did you pay the heating bill at home?
I'll do it after.
Okay. Anyway.
Here to perform a special Christmas monologue that is sure to make your spirits bright, Elise.
All right, you North Pole newbies, this is your orientation. The Christmas countdown is ticking away. We don't have much time. So prick up those pointy ears and listen up. My name is Inspector Brumbly, elf number 8425. I have delivered this orientation speech for over 1,000 years, so if I look burnt out, it's not your imagination. The number one rule here at Santa's Workshop is, when the fat man is on the floor, look busy. Everything after that is easy. As you can see, this is the main room where all the magic happens. Make sure when you are working alongside the conveyor belt that you do not wear jingle bell sleeves. Last year, Happy the Elf lost an arm. Not so happy anymore. Some basic tips. Common sense, really. Don't stare at Rudolph's nose. He hates that. It's red. Get over it. If you see a disoriented talking snowman that says happy birthday, just smile and nod politely. He's happy but harmless. Don't listen to rumors about Mrs. Claus and the Easter Bunny, and don't mention those rumors to Santa. And especially don't mention to him after he's had more than 2 glasses of eggnog. Trust me on this one. I know from experience. All right, elves, that's about it. Let's get to work.
Boy, these acts just get better and better.
You can say that again.
Boy, these acts just get better and better. You said, I don't know. Your idea.
Anyway, for our next performance, we have Alex Seifert to perform Oh Holy Night.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. The thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine. Oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine. Oh, night. Oh, night divine. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus praise we, with all our hearts we praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord. Let all within us praise him in power and glory evermore.
Such a classic. We're so lucky to have a community so rich with talent.
I couldn't agree more, Kat. You know what else we would agree on?
Not much.
Okay, wow. Well, we would agree that all the holidays are absolutely wonderful, but I'd like to take a moment to recognize Hanukkah. 8 full nights of gift-giving and lighting the menorah.
Wait, so I have to buy you 8 different presents?
Well, sure, but you'd be getting 8 gifts, too.
Oh, I like that part.
Here to tell us a little bit more about Hanukkah and a little bit less about materialism is Lindsay Hirsch.
The Latka Who Couldn't Stop Screaming. A Christmas Story by Lemony Snicket. This story ends in someone's mouth, but it begins in a tiny village more or less covered in snow. The snow had fallen during the long night, during which children had pressed their faces to the windows, looking for a glimpse of a man who they suspected of bringing them wonderful gifts. But instead, they heard a terrible noise from a certain cottage in the neighboring arrondissement, a word which here means place where something was being born. This cottage was already regarded with some suspicion, as it was the only place not decorated with flashing colored lights at this time of year. The thing that was being born was a latke, a word which here means potato pancake. Latkes are a traditional part of the celebration of Hanukkah, a holiday commemorating a miraculous Jewish military victory. Nearly everything in this world is born screaming, and the latke was no exception, even though the latke wasn't conceived and born the way you and I were conceived and born, but instead was fashioned from grated potatoes, chopped onions, beaten eggs, and a dash or two of salt. Once these ingredients were properly mixed, the latke was slapped into a pan full of olive oil heated to a very high temperature, and this is when it began to scream. The latke was suffering so much that it leapt out of the hot pan and out the window of the cottage and began to run screaming down the boulevard. This may seem like unusual behavior for a potato pancake, but this is a Christmas story in which things tend to happen that would never occur in real life. The latke ran past a row of flashing colored lights, which hung from the rain gutters of a less suspicious cottage. "What's all the ruckus?" said the lights in unison. "We're the ones who are supposed to be dominating the neighborhood with our cheerful glow." "I was just thrown into a pan of boiling oil," the latke cried in reply. "Can you believe it?" "Yes," said the flashing colored lights, "but we can't imagine why." "Because I am a latke," said the latke. The olive oil reminds us of the oil used to rededicate the temple following the defeat of Antiochus at the hands of the Maccabees. The oil was only supposed to last for 1 night, but then there was a miracle and it lasted for 8. Plus, frying makes my skin crispy and brown. "So you're basically hash browns," said the flashing colored lights. "Maybe you can be served alongside a Christmas ham." "I am not hash browns," cried the latke. "I am something completely different." The latke rounded the corner and found itself face to face with the candy cane, which wrinkled its red and white nose at the latke in distaste. "I'm trying to sprinkle the night air with my peppermint scent," the candy cane said. "Your mouth-watering smell, not to mention all that yelping, is spoiling the effect." "My mouth-watering smell is part of the cozy feeling of Hanukkah," the latke replied. "It reminds us that things are better now than they were in 175 BCE, when my people were not allowed to practice their religion. In order to study the Torah, they had to hide out in caves, and when they heard Greek soldiers approach, they pretended they were gambling with a small spinning top called a dreidel. "Sort of like Mary and Joseph hiding out in the manger," said the candy cane. "Someone should write a Christmas carol about you." "I am not part of Christmas," cried the latke. "It's a totally different thing." The screams of the Latka grew quieter and quieter as the pancake ran out of the village into the surrounding forest. Its utter fury was unabated, a phrase which here means the Latka was still very annoyed at the objects to whom it had spoken. But it was quite tired, and so it decided to rest for a few minutes beneath the branches of a little pine tree. The pine tree was napping, but woke up at the sound of an object plopping down at its feet. "Are you a present?" the pine tree asked. "Presents are pretty much the only thing allowed to sit beneath me during this time of year." The Latka sighed. "Presents aren't really a big part of Hanukkah," it said in a voice hoarse from screaming. "There's nothing wrong with giving gifts to loved ones, of course, but it's more important to light the candles for 8 consecutive nights, to commemorate the miracle in the temple, and the miracle of victory even when you are thoroughly outnumbered, so you shouldn't give up hope." "Plus Santa Claus," said the pine tree. The Latka was too exhausted to scream. "Santa Claus has nothing to do with it," the Latka said. "Christmas and Hanukkah are completely different things." "But different things can often blend together," said the pine tree. "Let me tell you a funny story about pagan rituals." But before the pine tree could begin its story, a family came trooping through the snow, searching the forest carefully. "We shouldn't have waited until the last minute to get ready for the holiday," said the father in the family, who was holding an axe. "We'll never find a good one." "You shouldn't give up hope," said the mother, and pointed at the pine tree. "Look!" "It's perfect," said the daughter. "Beautiful," agreed the son. "Such a marvelous shape," said the mother. "And its skin looks so crispy," said the father, and reached down and scooped up the Latka from the snow. "We'll need to reheat it, of course, but this will be perfect for Hanukkah dinner, with a topping of applesauce, sour cream, or even jam." "I'll refry it in oil," said the mother, "to remind us of the rededication of the temple." "And the triumph of the Maccabees over Antiochus," added the daughter. "After hiding out in caves all that time," the son chimed in. The father smiled down at the Latka in his mitten, and then stared curiously at his other hand. "What was I thinking, bringing this axe?" he said to himself. The family strolled back to the village, walking past all of the cottages with flashing colored lights and smiling politely at the candy canes until they reached their own home. The family carried the Latka into their own home, which was warm and cozy, and sat down at the table, which was lit with the flickering candles of a menorah, or Hanukkah, which is a branched candelabra designed specifically for the holiday. It is very frustrating not to be understood in this world. If you say one thing and keep being told that you mean something else, it can make you want to scream. But somewhere in the world, there is a place for all of us. Whether you are an electric form of decoration, peppermint-scented sweet, a source of timber, or a potato pancake. On a cold, snowy night, everyone and everything should be welcomed somewhere. And the Latka was welcomed into a home full of people who understood what a Latka is and how it fits into its particular holiday. And then they ate it.
Wait, what's that I hear? Up on the rooftop. Is that hooves and jingle bells? Could it be? I think it is. I think Santa's here.
Yes, he's here. He has arrived. The holliest, the jolliest, the man who's making his list, checking it twice and always finding out who's naughty or nice. It's Santa Claus, here to star in his own segment, Dear Santa.
Ho, 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 ho. Oh, Merry Christmas. Thank you, Adam, for that heartwarming welcome. You've been a very good boy this year. I'll be sure to bring you something extra special Christmas morning. One of my favorite parts of being Santa, aside from the milk and cookies, is receiving all the letters. Each year I receive millions of letters from the young and the young at heart. It brings me such joy to read each and every one of them. As I understand it, today I have an extra special treat. We get to hear some very good girls and boys as they write their letters to me. Let's see, who should we check on first? Let's see. Ah, yes, little Allie. What does Allie want this year?
Dear Santa. Hi, Santa. I hope you're having a good time up in the North Pole. It must be cold up there as well. For Christmas this year, I would like a computer. My mom said I can't have one, so that's why I'm asking you. I hope you have a good time. I'll leave out cookies for you. I'm gonna try to hide under my couch and see if I can find you this year. I hope it works.
Ho, 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 ho! Allie, a computer. I'll see what I can do. Of course, I will need to check in with your mother. Did you know that I am always checking with your parents? It can be difficult to keep an eye on everyone all the time. Your parents are some of my very best helpers. Ho, 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 ho. Remember, Allie, if you're not tucked into your bed and sleeping, I can't come and visit you, and it would be a shame to not get to visit you and eat your delicious cookies. Ho, 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 ho. Let's see. Here, who's next? Yes, Jimmy. What is it that Jimmy wants this year?
Dear Santa, how are you? I'm good. For Christmas, I want a Nintendo Switch. If not, then a Fortnite Battle Bus, please. This year, I've been good. I help with my baby brother, Charlie. He wants chew toys. Merry Christmas. Love, Jimmy. Oh, and a kit blanket. Thank you.
Ho, 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 ho. Jimmy, I'm so glad that you have been such a big helper with your baby brother, Charlie. I'm sure we can get your brother some chew toys. And for you, you'll have to wait until Christmas to be surprised. But since you've been such a good boy this year, I'm sure you will have an extra special Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho.
Bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, darling, and soon, ding and dong, ding and the bell, ding dong, ding dong, that is our song. Lift up a ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, o'er hill and dale, telling the tale. Gaily they ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here, ding dong, ding dong, that is the song with joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, o'er hill and dale, telling their tale. Gaily they ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Ding, merry, 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 that is the song. Ring, merry, merry, merry Christmas. Ding, dong, without end. Ding, on they send on without end their joyful tone to every home. Ding dong, ding dong.
And that was Mitchell, Kaylee, Megan, Jonathan, Adam, and Chloe singing Carol of the Bells.
Kat, with all these talented guests, I don't think I'll need Yearquill to make it through the rest of 2020. Although as our sponsor, I must say, we all need Yearquill to make it through the rest of 2020.
But if I'm being honest, I never really liked that stuff to begin with.
She loves it. Every night. Every night.
But what I do like are gifts. Should we revisit that 8 gifts Hanukkah
Now,
topic?
Kat, the holidays are about more than getting gifts. It's also about giving. I think you ought to listen to this next story very carefully, because you could stand to learn a thing or two. Brandon, take it away. Brandon, take it away.
The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. $1.87. That was all. She had put it aside, 1 cent, and then another, in her careful buying of meat and other food. Della counted it 3 times. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was nothing to do but fall onto the bed and cry. So Della did it. While the lady of the home is slowly growing quieter, we can look at the home. Furnished rooms at the cost of $8 a week. There is little more to say about it. In the hall below was a letterbox too small to hold a letter. There was an electric bell, but it could not make a sound. Also, there was a name beside the door, Mr. James Dillingham Young. When the name was placed there, Mr. James Dillingham Young was being paid $30 a week. Now, when he was only being paid $20 a week, the name seemed too long and important. It should perhaps have been Mr. James D. Young. But when Mr. James Dillingham Young entered the furnished rooms, his name became very short indeed. Mrs. James Dillingham Young put her arms warmly around him and called him Jim. You have already met her. She is Della. Della finished her crying and cleaned the marks of it from her face. She stood by the window and looked out with no interest. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she only had $1.87 with which to buy Jim a gift. She had put aside as much as she could for months, with this result. $20 a week is not much. Everything had cost more than she had expected. It always happened like that. Only $1.87 to buy a gift for Jim. Her Jim. She had had many happy hours planning something nice for him. Something nearly good enough. Something almost worth the honor of belonging to Jim. There was a looking glass between the windows of the room. Perhaps you have seen the kind of looking glass that is placed in $8 furnished rooms. It was very narrow. A person could see only a little of himself at a time. However, if he was very thin and moved very quickly, he might be able to get a good view of himself. Della, being quite thin, had mastered this art. Suddenly she turned from the window and stood before the glass. Her eyes were shining brightly, but her face had lost its color. Quickly she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its complete length. The James Dillingham Youngs were very proud of two things which they owned. One thing was Jim's gold watch. It had once belonged to his father, and long ago it belonged to his father's father. The other thing was Della's hair. If a queen had lived in the room near theirs, Della would have washed and dried her hair where the queen could see it. Della knew her hair was more beautiful than any queen's jewels and gifts. If a king had lived in the same house, with all his riches, Jim would have looked at his watch every time they had met. Jim knew that no king had anything so valuable. So now, Della's beautiful hair fell about her, shining almost like a falling stream of brown water. It reached below her knee. It almost made itself into a dress for her. And then she put it up on her head again, nervously and quickly. Once she stopped for a moment and stood still, while a tear or two ran down her face. She put on her old brown coat. She put on her old brown hat. With the bright light still in her eyes, she moved quickly out the door and down the street. Where she stopped, the sign said, Mrs. Sofroni, hair articles of all kinds. Up to the second floor, Della ran and stopped to get her breath. Mrs. Sofroni, large, too white, cold-eyed, looked at her. Will you buy my hair? Asked Della. I buy hair, said Mrs. Sofroni. Take your hat off and let me look at it. Down fell the brown waterfall. $20, said Mrs. Sofroni, lifting the hair to feel its weight. Give it to me quick, said Della. Oh, and the next 2 hours seemed to fly. She was going from one shop to another to find a gift for Jim. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of the shops, and she had looked in every shop in the city. It was a gold watch chain, very simply made. Its value was in its rich and pure material. Because it was so plain and simple, you knew that it was very valuable. All good things were like this. It was good enough for the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that Jim must have it. It was like him. Quietness and value. Jim and the chain both had quietness and value. She paid $21 for it, and she hurried home with the chain and 87 cents. With that chain on his watch, Jim could look at his watch and learn the time anywhere he might be. Though the watch was so fine, it had never had a fine chain. He sometimes took it out and looked at it, only when no one could see him do it. When Della arrived home, her mind quieted a little. She began to think more reasonably. She started to try to cover the sad marks of what she had done. Love and large-hearted giving, when added together, can leave deep marks. It is never easy to cover these marks, dear friends. Never easy. Within 40 minutes, her head looked a little better. With her short hair, she looked wonderfully like a schoolboy. She stood at the looking glass for a long time. If Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, before he looks at me a second time, he'll say I look like a girl who sings and dances for money. But what could I do? Oh, what could I do with $1.87? At 7, Jim's dinner was ready for him. Jim was never late. Della held the watch chain in her hand and sat near the door where he always entered. Then she heard his step in the hall, and her face lost color for a moment. She often said little prayers quietly about simple everyday things. And now she said, please, God, make him think I'm still pretty. The door opened and Jim stepped in. He looked very thin, and he was not smiling. Poor fellow, he was only 22, and with a family to take care of. He needed a new coat, and he had nothing to cover his cold hands. Jim stopped inside the door. He was as quiet as a hunting dog when it is near a bird. His eyes looked strangely at Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not understand. It filled her with fear. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor anything she had been ready for. He simply looked at her with that strange expression on his face. Della went to him. Jim, dear, she cried, don't look at me like that. I had my hair cut off and sold it. I couldn't live through Christmas without giving you a gift. My hair will grow again. You won't care, will you? My hair grows very fast. It's Christmas, Jim. Let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I got for you. You've cut off your hair? Asked Jim slowly. He seemed to labor to understand what had happened. He seemed to not feel sure he knew. Cut it off and sold it, said Della. Don't you like me now? I'm me, Jim. I'm the same without my hair. Jim looked around the room. You say your hair is gone, he said. You don't have to look for it, said Della. It's sold, I tell you. Sold and gone, too. It's the night before Christmas, boy. Be good to me because I sold it for you. Maybe the hairs of my head could be counted, she said. But no one could ever count my love for you. Shall we eat dinner, Jim? Jim put his arms around Della. His Della. For 10 seconds, let us look in another direction. $8 a week or $1 million a year? How different are they? Someone may give you an answer, but it will be wrong. The Magi brought valuable gifts, but that was not among them. My meaning will be explained soon. From inside the coat, Jim took something tied in paper. He threw it upon the table. I want you to understand me, Dell, he said. Nothing like a haircut could make me feel I love you any less. But if you open that, you may know why I felt the way I did when you came in. White fingers pulled off the paper, and then a cry of joy, and then a change to tears. For there lay the combs that Della had seen in a shop window and loved for a long time. Beautiful combs with jewels, perfect for her beautiful hair. She had known they cost too much for her to buy them. She had looked at them without the least hope of owning them. And now they were hers, but her hair was gone. But she held them to her heart, and at last was able to look up and say, My hair grows so fast, Jim. And then she jumped up and cried, Oh, oh! Jim had not yet seen his beautiful gift. She held it out to him in her open hand. The gold seemed to shine softly, as if with her own warm and loving spirit. "Isn't it perfect, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You'll have to look at your watch 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how they look together." Jim sat down and smiled. "Della," said he, "let's put our Christmas gifts away and keep them a while. They're too nice to use now. I sold the watch to get the money to buy the combs. And now, I think we should have our dinner." The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the newborn Christ child. They were the first to give Christmas gifts. Being wise, their gifts were doubtless wise ones. And here I have told you the story of two children who were not wise. Each sold the most valuable thing he owned in order to buy a gift for the other. But let me speak a last word of the wise to all those of these days. Of all who give gifts, these two were the most wise. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are the most wise. Everywhere, they are the wise ones. They are the Magi.
Ho, ho, ho! So many letters and so little time. Which child should we check in on next? Let's see. Oh, yes, Molly. Molly is always such a good girl, and she is very smart. I wonder what she has on her mind this year. Ho, 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 ho.
My letter to Santa. Dear Santa, this year my parents are telling me to write you a letter. Okay, I can do that. But first, there are a few questions I've been wanting to ask you. Are Christmas songs accurate? There are so many songs flying around about Christmas, and particularly about you. Like, are you actually watching me sleep? How would you know if I was a good or a bad person based on watching me sleep? Oh, this person sleeps with a lamp on. That means they've been good. Or is it because you don't want to come delivering gifts while we're awake? The only thing is the line says he sees you when you're sleeping. So does that mean you collectively see everyone that is sleeping in the world? How could you focus on anything if you're seeing millions of people sleep at the same time? Now that I brought up how you do things, that makes me wonder about movies. In Christmas movies, they sometimes try to explain how you do things. So are any of them correct? I mean, there are so many movies talking about you. One of them's gotta be right. Right? Do you even watch Christmas movies? Do you like them? Obviously, it would be cool to see people act as you, but it must be weird seeing yourself everywhere. I mean, where I'm from, you can barely go into most stores and not see something winter holiday themed. If I walked into a store and saw something like that for me, I would be very concerned. Of course, it's more normal for you, considering you've always been famous, but it still must be weird. That makes me think of this. Do you ever go out in public? I mean, if you wore normal clothing, it would be very hard for someone to tell. You must have to get groceries every once in a while. Oh, my mom says we only have 5 more minutes before the mailman is going to come, so I guess I should tell you what I would like for Christmas. This year for Christmas, I would like some stationery for sending letters. I have a few questions I would like to ask the Easter Bunny.
Ho, 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 Molly, you are so inquisitive. It's good to ask questions and be curious. Knowledge is a far better gift than I could ever bring you. Ho, 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 ho. To answer some of your questions, I do watch you when you're sleeping, Luckily, not everyone is sleeping at the same time, and the rest is a little Christmas magic. Now, part of my magic is being able to visit you while you're sleeping, each and every house. As for movies, well, the movies all have a similar theme to carry the message of Christmas, but honestly, I don't watch them. I prefer reading letters from all you children. Now, Mrs. Claus, on the other hand, loves watching them, especially those Hallmark Christmas movies. I don't go out in public often. Living in the North Pole poses some challenges. There aren't many grocery stores or Targets. I do like to go on vacation every year. In the Bahamas. You should see me in my swimming suit. Ho, 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 ho. You can usually find me on the beach with a nice glass of milk, wearing a Hawaiian shirt. As for the stationery, I'm sure we can get some. The Easter Bunny would love to hear from you. Ho, 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 ho. Well, it looks like I have another letter, this time from Rosie. Now, what does Rosie want this year?
Dear Santa, I know this might be a little crazy, but I really want a pug. I'll take care of it, I will walk it 3 times a day, and I will make sure that it does not sneeze in my face. And I will send you a link of some because I know that they're kind of hard to find, and it'll just be easier for you. So I hope that you listen to this, and I hope you see this because I really, really, really want a pug. Please, please, please. With a cherry on top.
Ho, 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 dogs. Now, dogs are a huge responsibility, Rosie. You must be sure to take care of them for the rest of their lives. But they are also very loyal friends and will love you unconditionally. Did you know that I have a dog too? Her name is Greta, and she's a very good girl. Ho, 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 ho.
It's coming on Christmas, they're cutting down trees, putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. So I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Well, it don't snow here, it stays pretty green. I'm gonna make a lot of money and I'm gonna quit this crazy scene. Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Oh, I wish I had a river so long I would teach my feet to fly. Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Oh, I made my baby cry. He tried hard to help me, you know, he put me at ease. And he loved me so naughty, made me weak in the knees. Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Oh, I wish I had a river so long I would teach my feet to fly. Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Oh, I made my baby say goodbye. It's coming on Christmas. They're cutting down trees, putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. So I wish I had a river I could skate away on.
Oh, I just love Joni Mitchell, and the album Blue is so good. That cat wasn't really a Christmas classic when it was first released in the 70s, but, it was really our generation that kind of put the more melancholy Christmas songs on the map.
First the story and then the song. I think I've truly learned my lesson. I think I know what the holiday spirit is really about.
Well, it's a good thing there are only a couple of weeks left in the year. We wouldn't want you to exert yourself too much with all this cheer and goodwill. Oh, speaking of cheer and goodwill, yes, it sounds like Santa's back for another segment of Dear Santa.
It looks like I have time for a couple more letters. I'm having a little difficulty getting a good connection to this next little boy. The trouble with using Dish is anytime the weather's bad, I have such a hard time watching anything. I will just have to read this one to you. It's from little Eddie. Dear Santa, have a great Christmas. I have been good. I want a Kit, Stuffy, and Battle Bus from Fortnite. Thank you, Eddie. It seems to me Fortnite is very popular this year. I tried playing once. I was not very good, but I did enjoy the dances. Let's look in on one last child this evening, shall we? I wonder what Elise has been up to this year.
Dear Santa Claus, my name is Elise and I have been so good this year. Like, you do not even know. Last week, I bought my brother a candy cane with my own money, though I ate half of it before I could give it to him. But like my mother says, it's the thought that counts. Ooh, and the other day, I baked cookies for the retirement village, except I accidentally used salt instead of sugar. Apparently Miss S wasn't feeling so great afterwards. But this year I've tried to be the very best kid I could be, so I think I deserve an extra special gift from you. I would love the Fun Bake Oven 5000 3B Extreme. I love to bake muffins for my family, though they think I should stop eating the ingredients when I'm just taste testing it to make sure the muffins taste good. Finally, I've been stuck in the house for so long that I'm getting sick of my brother and my mom. So if you could swap them out or maybe take me in as one of your elves, I would be a great addition to your team. I could make toys day and night as long as I get some delicious cookies from Mrs. Claus. Oh, and I could also help with the reindeer. I could sing to them their favorite Christmas tunes or feed them or even clean up some poop. Oh, and I'm also so short that my pediatrician says I won't grow any taller, so short jobs are my calling. Thank you so much, Santa, and Merry Christmas. Ooh, and P.S., please give my brother Cole. He stole my Gertie the cow toy and gave it to the dog as a chew toy. With love, Elise.
I've gifted a lot of easy bake ovens in my day. In fact, I remember giving one to your mother. Baking is such a nice gift to give your family. I know we've all spent a lot more time with our families this year, but in the years to come, you will be so thankful to have had this extra time with your parents and even your brother. Time with our loved ones is precious. As for your application for employment, I can always use more help. The biggest help you can provide me is to lend a helping hand. Spread love, spread peace, spread joy, and the Christmas spirit. And remember, big things come in small packages. Ho, 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 ho.
The night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eye should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. I know. And then twinkle. You can't see? Well then sit up nicely, okay? And then in a twinkle I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work. He filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
Thank you, Amy. That is actually one of my favorite Christmas stories. Did you know it's actually a family tradition of mine to read that story every Christmas Eve?
Really? Well, Kat, I never pegged you as one with family Christmas traditions.
Oh, yeah. And actually, I have a new one this year. I'm going to make a CD of me singing all of the holiday classics and give it out to all of my friends and family. And you know what, Adam? You're going to be the first to receive it. Are you surprised?
If I woke up with my head sewn to the carpet, I couldn't be more surprised, Kat.
That is so sweet. Well, one of the songs on that album is going to be Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, but tonight you won't be hearing me singing that in my beautiful singing voice. No, tonight you're going to hear Chris do a wonderful rendition of that.
Take it away, Chris.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight.
have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are as in olden day, happy golden day of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. In a year, we all will be together, if the fates allow. Until then, we'll have to muddle through somehow, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Here we are as in olden day, happy golden day of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the year, we all will be together, if the fates allow. Until then, we'll have to muddle through somehow, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
Well, Kat, I just can't imagine a more perfect night to celebrate the holidays.
It has been really great, hasn't it?
It has.
But you know, I am very ready to get home, put on my PJs, snuggle up with my kittens, pour myself a big tall glass of eggnog, and watch some of my favorite Christmas movies.
What a coincidence. That sounds a lot like my evening, except replace the eggnog with whiskey. Well, that does it for us tonight, folks, with this edition of the Family Holiday Radio Hour, brought to us by the McConnell Arts Center and Worthington Community Theatre. On behalf of Kat Stout and our sponsors, Yearquill, my name is Adam Latex, saying good night. Santa, close us out.
Ho, 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 ho. Good evening and Merry Christmas to all. It's my favorite time of the year. Oh, the sights to behold, the snow, the trees, the decorations. But the best sight of all is the sight of mankind coming together to spread goodwill and cheer. It's always important to lend a helping hand, but this year we must be even more diligent in helping our neighbors. We must take the spirit of Christmas to heart and carry it with us throughout the year. No matter your age, from 0 to 11-7, Santa is always watching. Yes, that's right. I'm here to make sure you're on your best behavior. Just remember, those who are nice the whole year will wake up to a very special surprise on Christmas morning. Now, I know all of you listening this evening have been extra nice, so I know I won't have to worry about putting any coal in your stockings. Ho, 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 ho. Remember now, keep an eye on the evening skies. You may just see me and my reindeer flying high above your rooftop. Now off I go. I have lots to do before Christmas Day. On Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer and Vixen, on Comet and Cupid, and Donner and Blitzen. And don't forget the most famous reindeer of all, Rudolph. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Ho, 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 ho.
Who's that?
Santa.
It's Santa. Can you wave to him? Can you tell Santa what you'd like for Christmas?
I like baby doll. I want Pokemon cards.
What else? Anything else? You don't know? Penny, what else do you want besides a baby doll?
Oh wait, I know.
What?
I want some dinosaur cards.
Some dinosaur cards. Okay. Penny, what else do you want?
I want a princess card.
You want a what?
Princess cards.
Oh, you want princess cards? Can you talk louder? Santa can't hear you way up there. Hey. Can you talk louder? Can you tell Mommy what you want, nice and loud? Are you guys scared of Santa?
No.
No?
I can't. I'm trying to think.
You're trying to think? You've told Mommy you want an airplane. Is that true? Well, tell Santa.
I want an airplane.
Did you guys give each other a big hug? Show Santa how nice you are and how much you love each other? Can you...
Cute to maybe get him to look at the camera and say Merry Christmas.
Oh, we can do that. Okay, stand right. Okay, guys, right here. And right here. Do you see Mr. Andy right there with the camera? Do you see him? Okay, guys, I want you to wave. Stand right there next to Wyatt. Stand right there next to Wyatt. Okay, now wave to Mommy and say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, that's cute.
Can you do one more time?
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
You guys are so silly. You guys are... Okay, let Mommy get her phone. You can do a quick little dance number.
5 little monkeys.
You want 5 little monkeys?
Yeah.
How about Jingle Bell Rock?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that song.
You like that song too, I'm glad. Okay, you guys can dance. Don't knock anything over, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, show Santa your dance moves. Look at Santa. I need to show them your